Welcome to the Gold Split, brought to you by Lzuruha. I am Daddy P, not 3D, better known as P-Note, here with HighSpirits, one of the preeminent RPG runners on the planet. How you doing tonight?
Not too bad, Peanut. How you doing tonight?
Good, good, good. HighSpirits runs the Lunar series, at least number 1 and 2 on the PlayStation. Currently the world record holder for number 2. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, like I said, I run the Lunar series for the most part, or at least the 1 and 2, not the unmentionable one we talk about for the DS. I'm pretty much a primary RPG runner, but besides Lunar games, Dragon Warrior 7 is the other one that I've started doing, which is really massive and a really bad idea, but I did it. And I'm pretty much I stick to RPGs. That's what I am. I've never been good or really interested in platformers. And yeah, that's pretty much me. I'm an RPGer and a gamer for life, and a nerd. King nerd, I like to call myself.
That works. So tell me this, how did you get into speedrunning? Were the Lunar games or just RPGs in general, kind of like you said, your favorite games that you played growing up and everything, and you decided to turn that into a little bit more than a hobby?
Yeah, like RPGs has always been number one for me. I used to be a big Nintendo person back in the Super Nintendo days, but then the moment like Final Fantasy moved to Sony, bam, I was gone from Nintendo. Betrayed them for life. And then, so I followed RPGs pretty much my entire life. And I guess somewhere about last May, I saw this, I started getting into Twitch, and it was actually for StarCraft streams. But then I started noticing this speedrunning community. And so I started watching them, and then earlier this May, there was a RPG marathon called Crystals for Life that took place on site in Edmonton. And I went up there and actually hung out with the people. I flew from Florida, so it was quite a trip. And I didn't run any games, I just commentated, and pretty much that was the spark that got me into speedrunning. Like the moment I got home, I took the first game that I loved that I had with me that I'd never seen speedrun before, which was Lunar II, and I started routing it and playing it, and that's where I am today.
Makes sense. That's how it generally starts. A game that you just, you really loved, you just kind of start going. I was looking through your Twitch profile because I got to be honest, I didn't know a whole lot about you. As soon as Disenchantment introduced me to you, I did my due diligence and research, kind of hung out in your stream for a bit. An awesome stream, by the way. Very enjoyable. I like that.
I've seen you there a few times.
I noticed Soulblazer on your list of games that you plan on doing something with. That is definitely a childhood favorite for me. That whole series, Soulblazer, Lucian Gaia, Terra Enigma, that whole group of games.
It started out as a race, like a blind IRC channel race that we do every month, and I did that first, and then I did an Extra Life marathon back when Extra Life was big, the end of October. And someone donated a really massive amount of money for me to run Soulblazer, so I actually crammed and learned it in 2 days, and then did a speed run that I got about 3 hours in. And I'm probably going to go back to the game when I have more time, but with the current projects I have, I just don't have enough time to go back. But I would like to run all 3 Quintet games if I can.
3 hours is pretty quick. What's considered a decent time in that game?
Hour 40, hour 50. I think under 2 hours is the first benchmark. And then like world record's like an hour 40, hour 35 or something.
Well, I can tell you what YouTube video I'm going to be watching after the interview's over. I got to see that beaten in an hour and 40 minutes. That's not the fastest game in the world.
Yeah, I can point you out to a couple people. Genya23, Everhate. They're the big ones. I think LaHulk, LE_Hulk. I think they're the big ones that do the game.
The next spot I want to take, you're the Lunar II world record holder, as we said. It says comedically on your profile, world record holder until somebody else decides to run this game.
There's not a big community for Lunar II speedruns because, I don't know, people... It's one of those games that everyone loves, everyone played as a childhood, but everyone's scared to speedrun for some reason. And I think I've proven that it's not as much of an RNG mess as people thought it was, outside of like being able to die in any random fight that you fail to run away from 9 times. But other than that, like the bosses are easy. It's just I don't know. I never figured out why. I know there's a couple people who said they want to get into it, and I know there's one that's currently trying to buy a disc so he can play that too. But yeah, there's not much of a community for Lunar 2, so it's pretty much just me.
Well,
Solo
that's
world
never
record.
a bad thing. Being world record holder is always okay.
Yeah, well, I can put my stamp on it. You know, I got all the strats. I came up with all the strats. You know, so one day when it becomes popular, I can look back and say, yeah, that was me. And then you came along and ruined everything I came up with. Spent 6 months on. I look forward to that day.
So let me ask you the next question. I know you said before we started you got about 2 hours before your marathon run for Scrubathon.
Yeah.
Go ahead and promote that. I mean, I'm not really actually familiar with what that marathon is about. Let me hear the story.
Well, it's going on right now. It actually started Wednesday afternoon. It's at twitch.tv/Elmagus, ELMAGUS. He's someone who put this together this is actually the second year, but last year he put it together to raise money to help someone get to a marathon, and then he just decided to do it again this year, and it's I'd say a small marathon, but it's 5 days long, and it's basically for people who get some marathon practice. I mean, there's probably 300 people watching. There's about 270 people watching right now, and it peaks into the 300s, right? And it's still the middle of the week, so maybe we get a little higher. But Almagus is a good friend of mine. The person I was talking about earlier that said he's picking up Lunar 2 is Almagus, and he pretty much put this together, and we had a massive amount of support, enough to get 5 days worth of games in, and yeah, it's just pretty much. It's a no-pressure marathon, is what it is. A lot of people are using it for practice for AGDQ. I've seen a few of those runners already, and some are like me. It was his first time being in a marathon, and it's a good marathon practice. Since I will actually be in another marathon in a few months, the RPG Limit Break marathon that'll be in May. Well, so this is good practice for me.
That is very good to hear, because that's something that I've noticed just in my own speedrunning and applying to some of the bigger marathons. If you don't really have a lot of experience, it can be a pretty frightening thing. For a what you call a safe place to learn how to run a marathon, how to deal with the kind of the real live setting. There's no resetting. There's no you just got to do what you got to do. That's kind of a good thing to hear.
Yeah, the few times there've been mistakes so far, people have been able to laugh because we just, welcome, you're a scrub, you're at the right marathon, So we can make people feel good when they mess up. But yeah, that's pretty much. And then there's actually really good runners like the one doing Super Mario World right now to make us all shameful and feel bad, but that's all right.
That's awesome to hear. Well, I mean, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Was there anything you wanted to promote, hype your channel, anything like that?
Well, I definitely, I guess I'll talk about RPG Limit Break a little bit. It's, it's the morphed brainchild, I don't know, I guess you could say, of Crystals for Life, which is, not going to happen next year. And it's put together by a bunch of people in the RPG community. It's going to be in May, and it's going to be on site in Edmonton, where SGDQ used to be. And yeah, I was actually selected as one of the games over some big titles like Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. They actually chose Lunar 2 over those games. And I'm actually looking forward to that because that'll be, I've already hung out with the people before, and it's a good chance to really get Lunar out there, because this is a nice small marathon, but that one will have thousands of people watching, so it's a good way to get Lunar out there.
That's awesome.
As for my own stream, my big things right now are I'm not as much focusing on Lunar 2 right now. Of course, I'll be coming back to that in a few months when I got to get ready for the marathon. But I've been really trying to grind Lunar 1 and Dragon Warrior 7 right now. Those are my big projects that I've been working on. And after that, I'm not sure where I want to go yet. I'm kind of just waiting to see what happens when I feel happy getting times for these games. Considering I won't be happy until I get a sub 16-hour time for Dragon Warrior 7. It's that long of a game.
What are you at right now?
My first run was 17 hours and 18 minutes.
So in the RPG world, not extremely far to go to get to your goal. That's good.
It's still a good chunk. It's still a long game too. It's it's anyone who knows the Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest games knows you got to grind it out until you just get lucky one time, because those games are just so trolly and they can just wreck you badly.
I can imagine the pain of being trolled at the hour 15 of a 17-hour game.
Actually, it's 17th hour when you fight the final boss. That's the worst part.
Oh, jeez.
Those games are known for final bosses being extremely hard and are in random RNG messes that if they decide that you're going to die, you can't survive regardless of what you do. But that's what makes the series so fun, I guess.
That brings about a question. I've interviewed Carnage. I've talked to a few other people that run RPGs, and I guess one of my main questions, especially about a game I don't know, Lunar being my question, Lunar II, like Final Fantasy VII has its step counter, the step manipulation thing. Is there a certain mechanic in Lunar II that's really like what you could call the floor of learning how to speedrun it?
I guess you really can't say that because the enemy manipulation, all the enemies are on the world map. You can see them everywhere you go. The problem is they always, when you enter a room, like half the enemies in the game randomly move in a random direction, and then you can't predict where they're going to be, so you can't really manipulate encounters except for a handful that are set patterns, and so you can't really do that. I guess the big thing to getting into the game is to know how to beat the first boss, because you can't. Lunar has this thing with the series, like 1 and 2, where the first bosses are benchmark bosses where you're supposed to grind to a certain level in order to beat them. Like in Lunar 1, if you're not level 9 before you fight it, you cannot beat it. It's like impossible because of its regeneration mechanic. But in 2, you got this first boss where you're supposed to grind to level 12 so you can break its attack and defense, but there's an Easter egg in the game which allows you to quick kill it without leveling at all. And it just takes practice to get the setup. And it basically involves him killing your entire party and having your flying cat come down and murder him in one attack. But so getting into that game is mostly that, and it's a lot about just being able to react and dodge to enemies on the world map. So if you put any RPGs like Chrono Trigger, where you see enemies on the map, that's pretty much the mechanic that you have to know, is just how to deal with enemies that are on the map that move randomly.
That would be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I think we're at the peak of our interview here. Well, Spirits, do you have anybody you want to shout out? Let these people know where to find you. You got a Twitter, Facebook, anything like that?
Yep. Twitter, you can find me at HighSpirits_1. I don't really have a Facebook because I don't even use my personal one. Like, I have it, but I just look at it every once in a while. Shout outs right now to Scrubathon. I want to try to give my support. I've been helping out as much as I can behind the scenes. And trying to think of other people. I'd say you could check out Disenchantments if she ever gets around to running Lunar again.
I think we would all enjoy that.
Because she's supposed to be helping, we're supposed to be working together here soon, but I think she's been a little busy with work and other things. But yeah, I'd say shout out to the Lunar community, but that's just go me, pretty much.
Go Spirits.
Go me!
All right, guys. Well, this is an interview with HighSpirits. You can find him twitch.tv/HighSpirits. He's on all the time. Check him out in a couple. Well, I don't know if this is going to go up right away, but you may be able to catch at least some of his run if we put this up as quick as we usually do.
It's a 7-hour run. You might have time.
Right. Everybody do me a favor. If you like this video, subscribe, give it a like, give it a comment. If there's some speedrunner you want us to interview, you want to know more about them, give us a shout. Let us know what's going on. This is P-Note from Team Lzuruha, and we're out.
Thanks.